You open your eyes and you're in a medieval village, and before you even get your bearings, someone is already staring at you from across the mud. Not in a friendly way, in a, I wonder if she cursed my chickens kind of way. Welcome to one of the most dangerous social situations in human history, because it's not the plague you need to worry about right now. It's not the food. It's not even the doctor with his jar of leeches. It's your neighbors. And the word they're already whispering. You don't know it yet, but your survival odds just dropped dramatically. The witch hunt has started, and spoiler alert, you're already losing. So how does this even happen? How does a regular person, just existing, just trying to get through a Tuesday, end up accused of witchcraft? Easier than you think. The whole system that creates witch hunts doesn't start with evil people, it starts with scared ones. The Black Death killed somewhere between 30 and 60% of Europe's entire population between 1348 and 1350. Tens of millions of people gone. Nobody understood disease. Nobody understood bacteria. So when that many people die that fast, you need a reason. And the reason medieval Europe landed on was someone did this. Someone made it happen. That instinct never really went away. It just sat there, baked into the culture, waiting for the next disaster. Fast forward to the 1400s, you're living in a village in France or Germany or Switzerland. The crops failed again. It's been a brutal winter. 3 children died last month. Your neighbor's cow stopped producing milk. Everyone is hungry, cold, and exhausted, and completely out of explanations. Then someone says the word, witch. And just like that, the whole village has a direction to point. Not at the weather, not at contaminated grain, at a person. Probably someone who lives alone. Probably someone older. Probably a woman. The accusation doesn't need proof, it just needs one person angry enough to say it out loud. About 75 to 85% of everyone accused during the witch trials was a woman. That's not a coincidence. That's a design feature. In 1486, a German clergyman named Heinrich Kramer wrote a book called the Malleus Maleficarum, which translates to Hammer of Witches. He wrote it specifically to convince church authorities and secular courts that witches were real, organized, and dangerous. And it worked. 28 editions of that book were printed between 1486 and 1600. It was everywhere. It became the official instruction manual for hunting and killing people. The book argued that women were weaker, more sinful, and more susceptible to the devil. That's the logic the entire system ran on. Kramer genuinely believed this, the courts adopted it, and suddenly, being a woman in the wrong place at the wrong time had a body count. Here's where it gets you specifically. You don't have to actually do anything wrong. You just have to be inconvenient. Maybe you know a lot about herbs and you've been helping sick people with remedies. Suspicious. Maybe you argued with a neighbor last week and now their pig is sick. Your fault, obviously. Maybe you didn't cry during questioning. The Malleus Maleficarum actually listed that as evidence of guilt. Not crying means the devil is blocking your tears. And if you do cry, well, they'll say you're performing. You have a birthmark, witch's mark. A mole, same. The whole system is built so that anything you do confirms what they already decided. You were guilty before they knocked on your door. Once the accusation is out there, the process moves fast. And it doesn't move in your favor. You get dragged in front of a judge or a church official, and the questioning starts. Are you a witch? Say no. They expected that. That's exactly what a witch would say. The interrogation continues. They bring in witnesses. Those witnesses don't have to be identified to you. You can't confront them. You can't cross examine them. You don't know who said what. You just know that multiple people have now testified against you, and the judge is looking at you like the verdict is already written. Because it is. Then comes the torture. And this isn't metaphorical. The legal system of the time explicitly permitted, actually encouraged, physical coercion to extract a confession. Thumbscrews, the strappado, where they tie your hands behind your back and hoist you into the air by your wrists until your shoulders dislocate. Leg visas, and these were considered legitimate legal tools. The point wasn't to find out if you were a witch. The point was to make you say you were one. And eventually, almost everyone did, because the alternative was more torture, so you confess. And here's the trap. Once you confess, they don't just punish you, they ask you who else you know. Who were you working with? Name names. And now you're generating new accusations, new victims. The whole machine keeps running, fed by confessions that were never real. The trials by Ordeal were their own special category of rigged. If they couldn't break you in the interrogation room, they had field tests. The most famous one, they tie you up and throw you in a river. If you sink, you're innocent. Congratulations, you're also drowning. If you stay on the surface, you're condemned and they execute you on the shore instead. Either way, you're dead. Some areas used prayer tests. They'd make you recite scripture, stumble over a word, forget a line, go blank from terror, and that's your confession right there. The tests weren't designed to find the truth. They were designed to find a body. In Bamberg, Germany, between 1626 and 1631, around 1,000 people were convicted of witchcraft. 900 of them were burned at the stake. Some were beheaded first, which was considered the merciful option. The trials started because people petitioned local authorities claiming witches had sent frosts to destroy their crops. That was the origin, bad weather. From there, it expanded outward, consuming not just poor elderly women on the margins, but wealthy merchants, city officials, clergy members. Nobody was safe. The trials only stopped when neighboring territories started complaining that their own citizens were being swept up and executed. Even the witch hunters eventually couldn't ignore what was happening. Salem in 1692 followed the same pattern from the other side of the ocean. The whole thing started with four girls, the oldest of whom was 17. They started behaving strangely, screaming, convulsing, throwing things, claiming they were being pinched by invisible forces. By June, the courts had accepted something called spectral evidence, which meant that if someone testified your ghost visited them in a dream, that counted. Your actual ghost, in court, as legal evidence. There was no way to disprove it. Over 200 people were accused, 30 were found guilty, 19 were hanged. One man named Giles Corey refused to enter a plea and was pressed to death with heavy stones over 2 days. He still didn't plead. At least 5 more died in jail before their cases even came up. The youngest person arrested at Salem was 4 years old. Her name was Dorothy Good, a 4-year-old, chained in a prison for 8 months because adults decided she was a witch. She wasn't executed, but she never really recovered. Her mother was hanged. And this wasn't the cruelest story from the period, which is a sentence that should not be possible to write. Across Europe, over roughly 3 centuries, somewhere between 40,000 and 100,000 people were executed for witchcraft. Some estimates go higher, way higher. One range puts it between 200,000 and 500,000 deaths. The range itself tells you how hard it is to even count the damage. And through all of it, the targets kept being the same kinds of people. Women mostly. Midwives, healers, women who lived alone, women who were too outspoken, women who weren't outspoken enough, women who owned property someone else wanted, women who were just unlucky enough to be standing near something that went wrong. The witch hunter made money per execution in some regions. Actual financial incentives to find more witches. Which means the more terrified a community got, the more profitable the hunt became. Which means the hunt always expanded. It was a machine that got bigger the more it ran. So here you are, back in that village. Someone's already pointed at you. The word is out. You didn't curse anyone's cow. You didn't make a deal with anybody. You just exist in a world where fear needed a face, and yours was available. Massachusetts didn't formally acknowledge that the Salem trials were unlawful until 1702. It took until 1711 to restore the names of those who were killed and to pay their families a total of £600 in restitution. That's the number they landed on, £600, for 20 dead people and a community permanently broken by what it did to itself.